Welcome. Okay. No, I'm just gonna be real. I don't like introductions. That said, I'm gonna introduce my best friend. Him and I have been best friends for, I don't want to say how long because it will reveal our age, so I'll just say since we were 14. And we've lived together for roughly 15 years and in 4 states, right? I think it's 3 states actually. Right, it's 3 states. You didn't go to New York with me like I begged you to. So anyway, this is Bart. He is not just my best friend and twin soul, but he also happens to be my daughter's godfather. And he's somebody who, during the darkest times of my life, has pulled me out of that and vice versa. So I guess he's kind of like a savior in a way.
Call me Jesus.
Jesus. I thought we were going to use pronouns. All right, anyway, so...
Hi, I'm Bart.
The other tribe member.
The other half.
The other half. My other half and the other tribe leader.
Seeing as how this is the first podcast that I've ever done in my life, we're going to have to just muddle through the awkwardness of it all and kind of get to the subject matter, and hopefully it flows. So, starting with this, we're trying to go for some sort of not just spiritual, not just evolved, not just intelligent, but a conversation that can actually pull people in and unite people. And we're not reaching for the stars or anything, but we want to do this to do our part and to kind of meet the calling that we feel we've been called to. So
Have always,
yeah,
felt.
in a lot of ways, and finally have that technology, because we're so old. But essentially, the subjects we're going to be going over, current events and everything that's going on right now, needs not to be said what it is. We'll get into that. People that have moved us, people that we've met along the way that we've considered part of our group and our tribe and our cult. And we will eventually be interviewing them as well. But for now, it's just the two of us on a rough run of episode 1.
Which I think we'll become adept with pretty quickly based on the fact that we have organically contrived conversations probably about 15 solid hours worth a week for the past couple of decades.
Yeah, long time.
So, I wanted to kind of start with the same sentiment in mind of the people that have crossed our paths and, we've been blessed to have them in our life, is the fact that we've lost so many of them in the past 10 years, and that really does create... You'll have to excuse my cat. She wants to be part of this podcast right now. So anyway, we've had so many mutual losses as a result of our friendship dynamic, because my parents became his and his became mine, and we picked up, or I should say cherry-picked, some really amazing people along the way.
Yeah, especially in my case, not having a giant family to begin with, picking up a lot of people on her side that turned out to be like family. And so definitely mutual loss. Not that the negative is all we're going to be focusing on. It's not just about the people that we've lost. It's the impact that they've had on us, and they just so happen to have died.
Right. I think the main undertone that's going to, carry its purpose into light eventually during the conversation is how much we've learned to appreciate the ones that we still have as a result of losing the ones that we've lost.
So, first person that comes to mind that I wanted to shed some light on is Dawn Thornton Ludi. So Dawn was a spiritual mother, most definitely mother figure to me, and eventually to Wendy. I met Dawn years and years ago on a bowling league, and she was one of the first adult relationships I had with someone that was much older than myself. To kind of give that surrogate mother type feel. She was very mothering of me right away. We definitely clicked right away. She belonged to a religion that I am not a part of, but we still had a lot of common ground and a lot of very similar spirituality type beliefs, even though the religion itself wasn't necessarily exactly what I follow. But she was always there with a ton of guidance, as crude as it was, because her vulgarity was insane, the words that she used. But it was indicative of honesty.
Right. She was also very articulate because she was in the field.
Yeah. She worked for NBC. She was a supervisor over at NBC for a long time. So she knew...
She knew how to do it. She just didn't care.
Right, she didn't care.
And we loved her all the more for it.
You can see the honesty just in the way she talked. She gave her truth. And there was no, maybe she's lying type of feel whatsoever. It was just, I am truthful. So that was...
Mark to her aura.
Yeah. No, not at all. She was very clear and concise in what she meant. And she conveyed what she meant very clearly. It was very nice. And for me to have an adult that much older than me that did those things, it dropped the pretense. It made me realize I could do that too, that the real world isn't just full of lying people that hide behind smiles type of bullshit. She was honest and truthful and crude, and it really impressed me in a way that I want to be that way. Even if it was a subconscious choice when I was young, it still made such a big impact on what I became as an adult and who I am now.
I think Bart is innately attracted to those types of people because his mother, Trina, was like that. And I'm kind of like that. And my adopted mom and you got along really well.
Sue always was like that.
Yeah, she was like that too. That's just what you vibe with really well.
Yeah. But my mom, watching her in the hospitality industry all my life, and always working around people in that capacity, it was always like, you have to have a persona that you use when you're around people. And I saw that with her a lot. Dawn didn't have that. Dawn was who she was, regardless of where she was, who she was in front of. She could be in front of the president and she would call him a horse's ass. Quote.
So true.
It doesn't matter who it was, and not just this president. I didn't mean that. I just mean it didn't matter who it was. And to draw from that and realize I didn't need that pretense. I thought I needed that sweet voice when you answer the phone type of thing. So that was super impactful to me. Super, super impactful. And so recently, it's only been about a month, I think, or less, she passed. And it was pretty sudden. Seeing she always had these issues and kind of sort of seeing it decline. I was fortuitous enough to run into her at Walmart while I was in Florida at a funeral, ironically. So it was, the universe definitely... Evil Empire. Seriously, the universe really speaks loudly. But, so that was Dawn. That's Dawn in a nutshell. So I wish we could actually interview her. She'd have been definitely somebody we would have really gotten a good interview out of.
She's not just, somebody that we would have had a great interview with, but she was very supportive of the concept of our tribe. She was leading me into the notion of forming one. Mm-hmm. And she absolutely loved the one that we have. Yeah. And I love Dawn, too. I mean, for all the reasons that Bart said, too. But my offspring, for the first 5 years of her life, behaved the way that I did my entire life, I suppose. And I got a very rude awakening in regards to that type of rebellious behavior in the academic system and daycares. And I was working 2 jobs at the time, and so was Bart. So we really had to acclimate around each other's schedules because we needed a 3-bedroom house on the water with a fenced-in yard. And
we worked hard for that.
Yeah, we were kids. We were like playing house, like a 17 and 18-year-old kid when he became a godfather and I became a mom. And Dawn would pick up some of that slack sometimes because she had a granddaughter who was the same age as Trinity. And she was somebody who I trusted around my child, which there haven't been very many people in my entire life, save for like public facilities. I didn't leave my daughter at all.
Right. And Trinity was difficult when she was young, getting kicked out of a lot of daycare. She was great at home, but she wanted to be home. Yeah. She
loved being home so much that she would try to get thrown out of school so she could hang out with us, which we really did have to put the brakes on.
Giving her to Dawn to watch her while we were working, which I was working 80 hours a week at that point. And you were working like 2.5 jobs at the same time. So there was a lot. So Dawn definitely helped out, and she further integrated herself into our lives by taking care of the child that we were raising.
Right.
So, she was selfless. And these are the type of people that we definitely want to meet more of, that we want to attract, the people that genuinely mean it when they say it, not just say it.
She was like crazy charitable too.
Yep.
Like, I mean,
She didn't have hardly anything, but she gave. She gave of herself, her manual labor. She gave money when she could, consistently.
advice when you needed it.
Always.
And the time that she was willing to spare if she trusted somebody was on her level in regards to honesty. Which was, I think, her prerequisite, really.
Mm-hmm.
She would call you out on your bullshit, so you just couldn't do it around her.
And if you did, well, then, of course, she was a bitch, and she was evil, and she was mean. But a lot of people did think that about her, but...
I'm her personality doppelganger
Yeah.
in that way.
People don't like honesty. It's a shame nowadays, and it kind of segues into a current event issue right now. It's a lot of people don't like truth. A lot of people don't like looking at themselves in a mirror truthfully and honestly, because they have this idea of who they are, even if it's wrong.
So much projection, not enough accountability, and I mean, way too much appropriation, and certainly not enough appreciation going around and perpetuating that divide that we're experiencing right now at large.
Yeah. The world being what it is right now, we need more than ever to be united. And as corny as that sounds, we need to be one group of people that can disagree and not hate each other and not be so tribalized and you belong there and I belong here. And no, we're all American. Every one of us should be fighting the same fight ultimately, which is the oppression that we are gradually being given by our government, if it's such a gift.
I feel, that, and Bart actually said this during a private conversation we had earlier that I thought sounded really beautiful and wanted to quote. You said that you love your freedoms and that you don't take advantage of them whatsoever, but they're so clearly being stripped from us right now so conspicuously that it's like watching them take it away right in front of you.
Right. And we can't just, as a people, sit by and be okay with it because, quote unquote, some places have it better. It's like I am grateful for what I have, but at the same time, I don't want to be one of those people that just sits silently while it all gets taken away. And yes, I'm patriotic and I love my country. I love what America represents. And it's not some abstract idea of what it used to be. We can be that way now. It's a matter of recognizing that everybody is equal, that we are all, one nation, whether it's under God or not. We are one nation. We are one people. We came here to be free. And now, we're a free people that can't even collect rainwater. It's too much. Like, I'm watching this stuff get taken away. And when people try to argue with other places have it better, it's like, yes, the other places do have it better. But we will get there eventually if we keep allowing this cycle to happen. And it makes me sad to see so many people okay with it.
Dawn was, and that's probably why we did trail off on this subject, is because it was one of the heavy-hitting topics that we would cover with her when we spoke.
Yeah.
Freedom of speech and freedom of religion, and, I think the biggest problem is, like, we're so preconditioned and factionized right now that people are Dems and liberals and conservatives and red and blue, and they're not realizing that it's okay to be purple.
Right.
It's okay to be conservative about this and liberal about that, definitely depending on which topic. And with Bart and I, our philosophy is pretty damn simple. We should hold people accountable for their actions, but which actions?
Right.
If their actions aren't affecting the people around them and it's only affecting them, then that's part of their journey. Let them do it.
Yeah.
If
part of freedom.
Right, exactly. If somebody wants to say it, or they want to think it, or they want to feel it, doesn't mean they're going to feel that way forever. It's something that they have to evolve from, and we shouldn't judge anybody for that because we're all on that journey.
Yes. So long as they're not harming anybody.
Exactly.
Then, that's true freedom.
Right.
So long as we're not infringing other people's lives with our freedom, then we should be allowed to do what we want to do. We are American, and that's what that means. That's what that represents. And right now, one of the biggest things that Dawn instilled in us was the idea that being American meant being able to say whatever you want, go wherever you want, live however you want, because that's what this country was founded on. And so nowadays, to see that people can't even go for a jog without having to deal with adversity, they can't go for a drive, they can't do anything without having some sort of underlying fear.
They can't wear a cross.
Right.
You know, they can't.
Or they can't wear a pentacle.
Right.
They can't wear a rainbow flag. They can't wear a redneck flag. Like, who cares? So long as nobody's hurting anybody.
Exactly. I think, you know, we definitely need, like, forms of protection, and we need military too, but I think that's something that all of us, people who actually have empathy, would agree upon, was that we are using it for the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
The military and the things that we have, we should think more offensively than defensively. You know, I meant to fucking say defensively instead of offensively.
I'm like, wait a minute.
I've got football on the mind. Anyway, so yeah, having been raised by my father, who was really into Taekwondo, you learn a lot of things, and sometimes blocks and avoiding conflict and taking that meditative breath is that thing. Mm-hmm. And we have this amazing ability to pump out these disgusting war machines, but we haven't pumped out shit to fix the environment like we should. Mm-hmm. And we have heroes, people who get into, you know, becoming a soldier under the pretense, and not because of them, because of the government's plural across the fucking globe, have given them the idea that it's heroic to kill people that they've never met before for causes that benefit them financially, so they can go home with those nightmares in their head.
Yeah.
Instead of what they really were fooled into thinking it was, which is horribly sad, because those heroes should be doing one thing and one thing alone with that awesome heroic energy, and that is this: protect the innocent, because nobody's doing it. Not enough anyway, and by innocent I mean children, animals, nature, just right. the entire system that we have right now. If we utilized it for those things, as opposed to this divide that perpetuates conflict for preconditioned societal reasons, mm-hmm. while keeping us in a fucking hedonic treadmill.
Yeah, I think the thing that I've learned most in my adult life about what it is to be a human is that a species will create adversity and a sense of survival when the need to survive is not really there anymore, because we still have our animal instincts. And as an animal, your main thing is to live, to survive, to fight if you have to kill if you have to. And as human beings, we evolved past that physically, but not so much mentally, because that need for adversity is still there, that we have to take over land that doesn't belong to us, that we have to fight each other over stupid things because the real life horror of having to survive isn't there, so we create it. We're at the top of the food chain. We're not actively hunted by animals. We don't have to hide for our lives and create spears anymore to survive. It's not like that. So now what we do is we consider ourselves above animals, and yet really we're acting like animals to an obscene degree, to such an extreme.
And not in the term of animal where him and I, who are like incredible animal lovers,
right,
believe. We're talking about the derogatory like phrase animal, yes. not the.
Animals are innocent. They fight, they kill, they eat, they do everything for survival. And the point is that we're past that. So we see ourselves as being past animal state, and yet we have these animalistic tendencies of the need to kill. It doesn't go away. So instead of using that energy for something good, we're using it for something negative. We're oppressing people. We're killing innocent things. We're destroying lives, really, with no concept of empathy for what we've created, what we've done, what we're doing. It's hard to see the shoe on the other foot for most people.
Right, exactly. And, you know, it's like also hard to fight the cynicism that comes with finding reprieve about the things that you can't fix or control at times. And a lot of people who have the same mentality as how he just expressed, which I completely agree with, is the fact that there are a lot of emotions that people resort to as a means to coping with things that are that feel, I should say, completely out of our control, because the only way to fix them is to get enough collective human beings together to realize that we need to evolve to what I would consider the third state based on the two states he just gave us as an example, which is to evolve as much past that animal instinct that we have evolved past from where the hell we are right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's definitely something that's always really boggled my mind as someone who can grasp ideas relatively well, and seeing this species that calls itself intelligent, it bothers me a lot to see all these really good people that have had to die for these really ridiculous causes. And even now, why should anybody have to die? Why is death there? And I'm not like this peace-loving hippie. It's not like that. I would kill in a second if I had to. It's a matter of needless death. Why does it have to happen at all over stupid things that we don't benefit from as the majority? We are the civilians that are in the country. We run the country. The government people work for us, and people forget that. They want everything to be done for them, and that's given these people all of this power.
And giving us, brainwashing the masses into having a very short-sighted as well as entitled behavior pattern prevents them from getting getting to the point, I should say, of like accountability. And we all need to have that accountability. Right. We need to experience the emotions. We need to realize what it is. We need to spend 10% of that time figuring out the problem and 90% of it fixing it, which is something that you do see in the medical field, and you see it, in regards to like mechanics. They spend a small percentage of time, or like, as long as necessary, to diagnose something, for sure. But the real effort, once you have figured out the problem, is not to get stuck on the problem and bitch about it, but to try to do what him and I are doing now by expressing it in the first place, is to evolve and fix the damn problem.
Yeah. So many people in this country, in this world, are so eager to let someone else do things for them that
includes thinking for them.
Includes thinking. It includes running the government, for instance. They make it seem so complicated, which gets people even more unmotivated and uninvolved. And so it's, okay, well, you do it for me. And then here, take this power and take this power. And you can do this, because that way I don't have to decide and I don't have to think. I can just live in this life that I have to live in. Now, people are miserable in this country. We're working to death or we're starving to death. It's one of the two. It can't, and it drives me nuts to watch all these people be complacent to protect a life that's really not worth that much anymore. Being an American isn't what it used to be. It's not a sense of freedom. It's not this, I'm working to get to a certain point and then I'm going to enjoy life. It's now we're working until we're dead, or we're working ourselves to death before we ever even get there. And we do it because there's this fake idea of a finish line that we're going to get to at some point. But the hard truth is we don't.
Treadmill.
Yeah, the truth is we don't.
Mm-hmm.
It's a fake carrot being dangled in front of our face that keeps us going, and we do it nobly. We definitely do it with honor, with pride, but at the same time, it's a pointless hamster wheel of death, and it's not life as it's meant to be lived. And we as people can rise up and take back things that belong to us from the beginning, from people that think that they have the power. It's all an illusion. It's not real power. We gave it to them. We can take it back.
Just like money is based on how much is in circulation. It's not like it's been based on gold and forever. Right. It's kind of like we're in this big arcade, and the bankers, or, the hierarchy, the 1%, yield the coin. They run the arcade, and they run the gift shop as well. And just like a gift shop at an arcade, it takes way more tickets than necessary.
And we are the humans that are trying to save the princess, not realizing that there's binary code going on that controls absolutely everything around us. And we can access it, but we couldn't possibly see anything but saving the princess. That's our motivation. Mm-hmm. And they've given us that motivation. And we as people, which is what circles back to Dawn and who she was and what she meant, goes, back to that thought of, we don't have to save the princess. She's an artificial construct. She's that dangling carrot. We can move past that.
She's Bin Laden.
She's bin Laden.
I'm just kidding.
We can get past all of that and evolve as a race of human beings and run our own governments and not worry about having people make decisions for us. And ultimately, that's a goal. That's a years past goal. That's a goal that's a long ways away. But I think that as Americans, we can get there before anybody else if we really applied ourselves and realized what we really do have and all those things we should be grateful for.
What
We
we
should be
can
using.
achieve.
Yeah, we should be using those things correctly and not to hate each other and constantly point out the things that we think are different about each other, whether they be political or physical or spiritual.
Not in a derogatory manner, anyway.
Right.
I mean, it's awesome when somebody is like unique and different, and you're impressed by something, a skill, or some part of their culture inspires you, and you point it out, and you're like, wow, that's great. But if you're, beating somebody down over differences, then you're beating somebody down for their uniqueness.
You're preventing them from having a life that you feel you deserve. And why should you be able to do that? Everybody has a right to be happy in their life and to live it as they see fit.
Worship who they want.
Yeah.
Put whatever they want into their bodies and on.
Love who they want.
And love who they want so long. Okay, and that's something that I want to address too is, just a few days ago I said that love is love. Let people love who they want. And somebody said, well, what about pedophiles? There's probably nothing in this world that I dislike more than a pedophile. To
compare two consenting adults loving each other to an innocent child being victimized and abused by an adult person.
And since when is love indicative of abuse?
Right.
Or abuse indicative of love?
Right, either or. Love is not abuse. Abuse is not love. And it is abuse. So to compare the two is comparing apples and oranges. And if people don't see that, then I can't force them to be intelligent. I can't make people see logic.
Well, I sometimes use and this works with a lot of Christians, the 7 deadly sins, and I will give them credit in the regard that I'm not saying that nobody should partake in the 7 deadly sins. I think that all of us do to a certain degree.
Mm-hmm.
But if you prioritize those 7 things over innocence, or if you prioritize those 7 things over love, you're a piece of shit. They did have that right. If you prioritize greed or pride or lust even over love, then you're basically selling love short. It's okay to love your things. It's okay to love your craft. It's great. But if your craft and your things and those things are, if you prioritize them, it's going to work against yourself. It's going to work against the people around you. And way too many people do that right now.
And it forces you to become defensive, which eventually turns into resentment, which turns into hate. It's just misery. It's just misery. We are what we put into the world, as hippie as it sounds. It's the truth.
It's a perpetual cycle of negative dopamine.
Yes. Being younger, in my early 20s, I remember listening to...
Oh, no!
Well, that could have been yesterday. Listening to a certain type of music and really getting into it because I loved it so much, but then realizing the effect that it had on my life as a whole because I was speaking that mind frame into existence. And next thing you know, my life was just inundated with negativity, and it was a self-perpetuating cycle. I got the ball rolling, not realizing I got it rolling, and then it was hard to make it stop. It snowballed, it got bigger, it got heavier.
And that's why he said, good shot,
good shot, man. That's why I say, hey, man, nice shot. But it was... and that's when I realized, the things I put out into the world are the things I'm getting back. I'm getting back, right? Whether it's manifesting, whatever you want to call it, the universe is listening, whatever you want to say, it's the truth. And if you sit back and take a third person perspective and look at things, you realize that what you speak, you get back, and what you do to others does come back to you. And a lot of people find that hard to believe nowadays because so many bad people getting away with so many bad things. But I can tell you now, they're not happy. I guarantee it. I would bet my life that they are not happy people. They are miserable trying to keep that cycle going, trying to keep the power.
What kind of happy people do that type of crap?
No happy person is going to hurt anybody else. No happy person is going to make a decision that could literally destroy lives. So it goes without saying. The people that are making these decisions are incredibly unhappy people.
I
They
don't
have
know.
things we want.
Hitler looked like he had like a really positive and very bright personality.
Until he
he
killed
really
himself.
didn't.
Until
No,
it
he-
all toppled onto him.
No, I was just kidding.
I know,
He
it
really,
was sarcasm, but yeah, it's those people are miserable. They have all this power and they have all this wealth and they have everything that they really want physically, but mentally they don't have what they want. They're miserable. They're constantly at odds with things and constantly fighting things. And so, excuse me, it proves the point, and people really need to want less and be grateful for what they have more and be grateful enough to fight for what they do have if they have to. And it's not like anybody wants to fight. But as Americans, freedom doesn't come free. We should know that better than anybody in the world. We should know that. But it's become so far-fetched an idea because generation after generation has passed and nobody alive has had to really fight for their freedom anymore. It's hard, people in prison, certain people, sure, here and there, but as a whole, as a society, we have not had to fight for our freedom. And being at peace also comes with the price of losing your own power, losing the ability to do what you want. You give that power to others.
And really, losing complacency, that's one of the main things I feel people are the most afraid to sacrifice, because that complacency is like the sugar of society right now, and it's unfortunate too, because like the more that you break away from complacency and the more that you notice it, sometimes the appeal is always taunting for you to just try to be apathetic.
Yeah.
I mean, because it's so hard. It's hard to know it and to see it, experience it, and have to feel.
Mm-hmm. Well, because it's an unknown thing. And even if you're miserable, it's a known misery.
Exactly.
It's quote unquote safe. It's, until it becomes unbearable. But those are usually extreme cases. For the most part, Americans aren't at that point. We will get there eventually if things keep going where it's going. And this is why I'm trying to point it out now and talk about it now. Because why should it get to that point?
Right.
It shouldn't get to that point where it's life and death and we have to make a decision. We should be able to have enough foresight to say, okay, I need to make a decision now. I need to be able to jump because I'm not happy. As a society, we aren't happy. And the cat is meowing, so don't mind. We do this with our animals present.
Yes, we have to have the animals present. She was purring earlier as well.
It was adorable. So to swing back to people that were important to us, people like that motivated us to do this type of thing at all, to even speak at all, even if it touches one person, it means something.
We have been touched by so many people.
We have been so touched. Speaking of that disgusting,
like on like the same, on the same notion with the same sentiment is like one of mine and Bart's favorite things to do, which is to hang out with what we call our tribe. We've only recently decided to call it that. For years, they were just our circle of friends, and we cherry pick people. I'm more of an extrovert than he is, so I feel like I've cherry picked more people than he has. But it's always him and I. We fall in love with these people because I put them through a hell of a vetting process right away. I did with him too, actually.
Yeah.
I think your vetting process, what was it, like, our vetting process for each other was, 2 years maybe?
It was a couple years, yeah.
And then finally we're like, oh no, don't move away from me again.
Yeah. It kind of happened unbeknownst to us. It was like one day I was just thinking about you after you moved.
I had only been gone a few months.
It was like a year.
It felt like years.
It felt like a very long time. And I was like, I miss Wendy. I really miss Wendy. And this was, I was like 15 or something. I don't even remember.
I was 16,
young. I was like, yeah.
I did that gypsy shit.
Yep. And then next thing you know, that same day that I thought how much I missed her and how odd it was, she ended up calling me.
That moment, wasn't it?
It was pretty much the same moment. Yeah.
Synchronicity.
And that's when I was like, hey, I was literally just thinking about you. And she was like, no way. And then we've had many no way moments since.
We've had so many that we don't no way anymore.
Yeah.
Well, actually,
we do sometimes.
The really crazy shit.
Yeah, the crazy shit that's
we're not even going to go into it.
Chalk up to coincidence, yeah.
They won't even believe us if
right.
we told them.
So yeah, we won't get into that.
So the ones that we cherry picked that we still have, we've created a platform as a means to kind of exemplify what we think society should be through them.
Mm-hmm.
and that's simply because of the 22 that we have there now. I think we want to have a little bit more tribe leaders, and we would love to have millions of tribe members. We don't have a lot of rules. We honestly don't, but if you don't follow the few that we have, then
Right.
And so
And nobody's policing anybody. It's a very known thing. Okay, if you act this way, you are absolutely not what we want in our tribe. Even if we only have two people, it's two people that mean everything
we're
and
good with that.
that are like-minded. And for me, I don't think everybody understanding that love is more than hate, at least in the sense of living. Not necessarily balance, but in the sense of living amongst each other. And love should trump any sort of hate.
Right.
And
yeah, I see that.
I feel like those are the type of people that we want. People that truly believe that, understanding that every human being lies, every human being has faults, every human being is flawed in some way, and that's perfectly fine. We are human.
As long as we accept each other and we're not lying to one another.
Right, and we're not lying for the sake of either to gain something personally or to hurt somebody.
No hidden agendas.
No hidden agendas. Like every human lies. It just is what it is. So long as it's not about something very important, so long as it's not about something, like I said, that could hurt somebody else, then it is what it is. And I think that is symbolic of everything. Every sin, quote unquote, should be looked at in that way. It's what's the intention? Is this person genuinely good? Are they not that good? Of course, nobody thinks they're a bad person, but there are people that make really shitty decisions and really hurt other people and still insist on calling themselves a good person. And
as DMX said, there's a difference between doing wrong and being wrong.
Yes.
And that's, I think, how consistent and the reason behind why you're doing it. And with malicious intent, those are the kinds of people that we just can't be with. We can't, and here's the overall dynamic of us, and I'm being redundant, but I'll be stating it the first time between him and I, because these are mine and his tribe members.
Yeah.
He loves them just as much as I do.
Even if I don't know them as well, I feel the love that she has for them, and I can accept that because I trust her.
And he vibes like crazy with all of them.
Yeah. Everybody I've met so far.
Mm-hmm. And there's only one he hasn't met, and that's because he lives in
Sri Lanka.
Mm-hmm. But he's hella awesome, and actually I can't wait until we interview him, which will be soon.
Yes.
He's excited about doing that.
That would be cool.
So, our tribe members, there's 22 of us that are leading this tribe, and amid us we have an eclectic range of ethnicities, from black, white, Hispanic, Native American, Asian.
Yeah. And it wasn't even deliberate.
No,
it just happened to be that way. No one's trying to do a kumbaya nonsense thing. It just happened to turn out that way. We've met a lot of good people, and it didn't matter.
And the religion
what walk
is
of life they
just
had.
as all over the spectrum, too.
Yeah.
We have, Christian, Catholic, agnostic, atheist, eclectic spiritualist, which is what him and I are.
Wiccan.
Well, Wiccan. I'm an eclectic spiritualist.
I am an eclectic spiritualist. But there's Wiccan. There's, I think...
you
Buddhist.
were adding that.
I was adding it, yes. I wasn't saying I was Wiccan. I am not Wiccan.
No, but one of the Catholics' husbands are Buddhist. I don't think we have a Buddhist. Yeah. But you know what? I love Buddha, and I love the Four Noble Truths and the Eightfold Noble Path just as much as every Buddhist does. I'm not spiritually monogamous like that. Right. That's part of the eclecticism. So I guess you and I have a little bit of Buddha in us.
Yes, definitely.
We have a Buddha statue behind us right now.
Yes, I can appreciate Buddha and all he represents, just like I can appreciate Jesus. And that's something else that has to be really understood, is that it doesn't matter what you believe, that people believe something else, and that's okay. That not everybody is going to necessarily see eye to eye with you or anybody, and that's fine. It doesn't have to be a negative thing to disagree, and being wrong isn't necessarily a bad thing. Being wrong means you lose nothing. It means you've learned something. You've gained by being wrong. And not everybody understands that. And this is years of us coaching ourselves and pushing to evolve. These things don't come naturally to human beings in general. It's easy to segregate and separate and say, no, you disagree with me, therefore I don't want you, you're not my kind. But we all are each other's kind, regardless of where we think we're going to go when we die. That's a personal thing. Between you and God, or between you and nothing, if that's what you believe. And there's nothing wrong with that. And people that believe that are the people that we call to. Those are the people that gravitate to us or we to them, however it turns out. But it happens. And so I think that's one of the main points of this is to kind of articulate where we are now, how far we've come, and who's helped us get there. And using that, whatever insight can be gleaned is. And I think that's beneficial. I think to talk about the things that we have learned and the trials that we've been through and pushed ourselves through will really resonate with some people. And those are the people that we want. I think the main point of this podcast isn't just to impart information and wisdom and our take on things. It's to see who else has that take.
Exactly.
To not feel so alone in the world where it seems at times that everything and everyone is stupid. Not that they are, but that it seems that way sometimes.
Well, society sets the bar pretty low, so that way they don't jump over the bar and change anything.
Right. It's easy to walk over a bar. Why should you jump?
Right. I wrote this poem, that I feel like it affects everybody on that. It's, what the preconditioned society tells you or teaches you or brainwashes you to remember. It's basically, like I said earlier today when we were speaking, there's a difference between being intelligent and memorizing somebody's ideas and being genius and coming up with your own.
Yeah, it's true. And I feel like self-reflection involves a lot of having to come up with your own. You can use someone else's words, but if they resonate, that means that they would come from you in some way. Things that inspire you are things that you wish you would have come up with on your own. You know what I mean? Things you feel yourself.
Even that Tesla needed a little bit of Thomas Edison as much as, Thomas Edison was an asshole.
Ruined him and destroyed him.
But we have all benefited so very much from Tesla. It would be amazing if we could just turn back the hands of time and be like, hey, society, I have this great idea. Manly P. Hall learned him regarding philosophy, and Tesla and Einstein, hey, the two of them are right there. Learn science from them and set our standards to those levels, and really we would have progressed so much, but more people were awarding Stalin and Hitler attention at that time.
People in power, they want that slow progression because it benefits them more. Let's keep using oil because I can benefit from it until it's gone. Why stop now? I'm making millions, billions, trillions.
My best friends who own stock in arms, they'll benefit as well.
Of course. Exactly. And that's the part that just bothers me so much, is these people in power doing all of these things to shit on the rest of the world, not caring really about the future other than how it affects them and their children that are going to inherit their wealth.
I think that's another really good point that you and I brought up last week during one of these 20-hour conversations about how successors now they're a certain level of entitled more so than the ones that have achieved these dirty deeds and set them into play. It's like, it was already bad enough that transpired in the first place, but then they're handing all of their work to their successors.
All their hard work to people that have earned nothing.
And then they're hiring other people to do it for them. And then there's too many chiefs and there's not enough Indians and
the original message is gone.
Exactly.
It's lost. The message of a father is lost to his child. That's the way that inheritance works. You have this person. That's when the American dream was great. That's back in the day when men and women worked to achieve that dream.
Together.
And they did achieve it. No one really shit on each other. It didn't have to be fighting against this person and that person. Even competitors were honorable in what they were doing because there was enough room, there was enough wealth, there's enough success to go around. And now it seems like everybody's afraid of sharing any of it. It has to be all theirs. They have to monopolize everything because it's no longer the men that have earned it that are running these companies. It's the men that were given it, that inherited it.
And they have that mentality embedded into their core.
That it's got to be mine. It's all mine. It's all mine. And they didn't realize that their father cared about their competitor enough to understand how important it was for the economy to have more than one company doing a certain thing. And how important it is
to be amicable and to hold that honor, because without that, then they would lose the business that...
Right. Reputation is important, but for more than just appearances. It was important because reputation meant something. It meant a quality that doesn't really exist anymore.
Because it's more about what can you provide for me than it is the actual integrity behind what they're providing.
Now it's no longer, I worked hard to get the success. It's, I need to maintain the success because my way of life depends on it. And
my way of life.
Right. Exactly. Just like rich people killing themselves when the stock market crashed back in the day, the depression and all that. Like rich people throwing themselves out of buildings because they couldn't possibly fathom living like a normal American.
And I mean, Tabasco on ramen noodles can get you through some really bad times.
It sure can. It sure can. Like, but so many people in power, that's really what they're clinging to. It's not a sense of earning and a sense of dignity. It's not anymore. And I think that's a huge downturn. Even just watching someone who's not even rich get an inheritance and see that look of, now I have, and they feel as though they've earned it in some way when really they didn't. I'm against inheritances. I think that they can be valuable to people that mean well, but as a whole, I think that it just teaches people that they don't have to work for anything. And I just wish it wasn't like that.
On the flip end of things, too, I mean, it's also safe to say that Bart and I have represented that on a different level. Like, we didn't take child support when we were raising Trinity. You know, no matter how poor we were, it's not that we were against child support, and we weren't against welfare. Yeah. It completely depends on their dynamics, but we knew that between the two of us, if we worked hard enough,
we could do it.
We could do it without having to do those things, and that integrity was more important to us than the fact we could have probably worked less hours and read a hell of a lot more books than we were reading.
Yeah. It was the sake of earning and proving that I could do it, that I could be a functioning member of society as I saw it, as I was taught what that was. And, I mean, looking back, there are some regrets and like things I wish I would have done. Yeah, way too soon.
We did it way too soon.
Trying to grow up way too fast and not really enjoying life, and now I'm stuck in a lot of ways.
I was honest to God enjoying the hell out of it.
We had a really good time at that period in time. We really did. But we were still young and naive in a lot of ways, and we weren't stuck in that rut of what American society is yet. It was still new to us, and to us, we were succeeding. We were doing it, so it brought this sense of elateness, like elating. I don't even, what's the word? Elatedness. Like, we were happy to be doing it. We were excited. We were winning, according to us, as naive as we were, not realizing that we were really just digging a hole that was going to be really hard to get out of as a working American. It's very difficult to get out of that. And now trying to change things in our own lives and success no longer means what it did then. Success now means freedom. And that's the ultimate goal.
Because we have become financially successful, the two of us, and it didn't take us very long, actually.
No, not necessarily. But that's then realizing that that's not necessarily the win.
That wasn't the win.
That's not what
Because when we realized when we were the happiest, it was actually before we were financially successful. Yeah. And that's not to say we don't want to be financially successful.
Right.
We do. We want to be financially successful enough to get that freedom that we're talking about.
Yes. And
the freedom isn't just about him and I having leisure time. We want to actually use that leisure time to inspire people, to write books, to travel, to meet people,
to touch as many people as we can.
Okay, Biden. I'm just kidding. Oh my God. I'm sorry, I'm just kidding.
You have to cut that out.
No, I don't really. Yeah, I'm just kidding.
But to show people that it's not like, especially younger people, you don't have to get stuck in that fake illusion of I have to work myself to death in order to be successful, in order to be a functioning member of society. You can be smart about it. This is America, and I intend to prove that it can still be done.
And if not, we're going to Ireland.
And if not, then I'm leaving this country. If it can't be done, then the American dream is lost. But we're going to see firsthand for ourselves, and we're going to touch as many people as we can, and as hard as we can, and try to get people to. I don't know if it's necessarily valid. Do we need the validation, or do we just really want to spread the love and the wisdom that we've acquired, and because it's worked for us? And when
really
things work, when the experiments work, you want to share that information, and I would love to be able to share it with people.
Bart and I are king and queen of social experiences. There was a time where he was so incredibly timid, and it took me like 8 months to pull him out of it. I had him drive around with a tampon in his ear. I used a Sharpie to make it look bloody, too.
So inappropriate. But it had such a good impact.
And
like,
I had him
okay
go
to be
into
stared
all
at.
the stores with me.
Yep.
And I'm like, they're going to stare at you, and you're not going to give a shit about that. And he's like, he did it, though.
Yeah.
And it fucking worked.
It did. I mean, at this point, I really don't care what anybody thinks of me. Not as a human being. Now, there are some personal, professional aspects of me that I do care what other people think. But as a whole, as a human being, I really don't care what anybody thinks. And I think that everybody needs to feel that way and be that way. It's liberating. It's meaningful. It definitely eases the stress of what this life is.
Just to clarify, and I'm saying this, I agree with everything he said, but there's one component that does make us care, and that's if we actually care about someone and we
Yes.
have mistakenly upset them in some way. Because when you do care about someone, you don't, first of all, you're directly tied into their energy if you do. Mm-hmm. And so if you hurt them, you can feel it. If you love somebody and you hurt them and you don't feel it, you're a real sack of shit. In fact, you don't love them.
Exactly. Then you don't love them.
Exactly. You couldn't. And so we do care about the people that we love. And that's not to say that, and that's not to say just the people that we love. We love the causes that we love and the crafts that we love.
Yeah.
And so there are times where somebody, like I know as an author, if somebody said, your book is not for me, I'd be like, okay,
right.
All right, that's cool. But if someone, degraded me, somebody who doesn't write them themselves especially,
right.
degrades me because they don't like it, then I look at that as an act of cruelty. I'm not looking at that as a critique anymore. And so a critique I can handle. Mm-hmm. But cruelty, I feel that shit. I honestly do. I wish I didn't, but I fucking do.
If someone was trying to be cruel to me, that's when it turns off for me. That's when it's like, well, I don't care what you think. Right. Because you're evil. You're mean for the sake of being mean. You're not being constructive. You're not trying to teach me anything. You're just saying mean things for the sake of being mean. So that's when I jump in and say, okay, I don't care.
He does it for me.
I don't care what you think.
He tells me not to care sometimes.
It's true. And I think people as a whole can benefit from that, definitely.
I am very impulsive, and so the long game, I don't care. I'm right there with him with not caring. It's that immediate feeling that I get, mm-hmm. and I impulsively jump.
It's your natural reaction.
Yes, my natural reaction is very, passionate. So I get passionately happy or passionately pissed off by things that I'm connected with, or, things that I can feel affecting me, and I jump. Bart is so much more patient than I am. He always has been. He can keep up with me, but I can never get to his level of patience no matter how hard I try.
I can keep up with her, but she can't slow down for me.
He is right about that. That is an obvious advantage he's always had over me too.
Yeah.
I own it. You're not as whimsical as I am, so yeah.
No, I'm not. I can be a lot more boring, for sure.
I am like the one who gets him to do all the weird fun shit.
Nowadays it's hard.
And he gets me to think deep, and we're kind of like, I'll bring him into the cosmos and he'll ground me deep into the earth type of yin and yang.
It's a good dynamic.
Mm-hmm.
I remember, to shed some light on, I guess, me and who I am and what my motivation is. I remember being young and having this moment of, I guess it was spiritual, kind of laying in bed and just collecting everything. And just, I was very young. I was like 7.
Okay, all right, I'll stop
and the concept, it wasn't like that. And the concept of what, like, a mother was and what a father was and all these things, more than what was just told to me. I realized I did have my own thoughts and I could change myself and things I didn't like about myself. And that when I was young, I lied a lot. I lied all the time about absolutely everything. But I was one of those people that was like, no, I never lie. I won't lie. And that was just me as a 7, 8, 9, 10-year-old kid. I was in that phase. But at the same time, at night, I would sit and collect and realize that I didn't have to be that way, that I didn't have to give in to my baser impulses. I had control over what I do and what I say. And I think that that's a lesson a lot of parents neglect to tell their kids, is that they can make up their own mind. You don't have to blindly follow a belief just because it's the belief of your mother or father. If I were to ever raise a child, I would let them know this is what I think, but you're perfectly able to create your own belief, as long as it's based on logic and your own intuition, and even if it's faith, so long as it makes sense to you, as it truly makes sense. It's not just something you're following because someone tells you need to. And that's something that's really gotten away in this country. And I think it's one of the big reasons why we are where we are as a country, is that no one's taught that individual thought is okay. It's believe what I believe, or you're a disappointment. You can't do that because I don't approve of it. So it's built up this definite, I think I said earlier, this tribal mentality of, this group of people goes here and believes this, and that group of people goes here and believes that, and they can never get along, and they have to hate each other because they're not part of the same group and they think differently. And so I think for me, being a kid and being able to have those thoughts really shaped who I am and who I spoke to growing up, and who I picked as friends, and who I loved and who I didn't love. And regardless of whether or not I did or I wasn't necessarily a dick, because I had those epiphany moments, even as a young child. And my wish is that everybody could understand that you can be that way, and you don't have to do it at a young age. You can do it right now. You can realize that it's okay to have your own thoughts, so long as you aren't hurting anybody.
Yeah, I feel like that was one of the main adhesives to our friendship right away. I was really defiant.
I was not.
I got you to be defiant with me really fast.
You did.
I mean, we led 600 people to get suspended from a pep rally. Together. It was our first social experiment, actually.
Yes.
Yeah, that was our first social experiment. We're like, there's 600 freshmen, which is the largest they'd had ever at that school.
I think it was 400.
Was it 400?
I think it was 400. I think the 600 was the total number of the school, and there was that many freshmen.
Okay, all right.
It was an inundation
of freshmen. He was a lot more sober than I was in school.
That's true. But yeah, the seniors were all chanting, what was it? Go home, freshmen, go home. And then her and I looked at each other, and
we're like, upper class, kiss our ass.
Yeah, upper class, kiss our ass.
Absolutely more catchy.
And it started. All of the freshmen started saying, upper class, kiss our ass. Like, I had no idea it was going to spread like that.
Well, yeah, that's not true, because we actually got Shane and Gretchen.
Yeah, we had our own little clique and group that did it.
We had our clique spread out throughout the auditorium.
All of a sudden, it just started picking up and
the whole
echoing.
It was catchy, but we had all of us spread out strategically so that we could get the whole damn auditorium to do it.
I didn't really think it would work.
It worked.
It worked.
I knew it was going to work.
It worked. The whole freshman class started saying upper class, kiss our ass. And we were banned from going to any pep rallies for the rest of the year.
That's all right. Christina and I were banned from riding the school bus for the riot I threw with her. Christina's one of our favorite people in Tampa. Like, that's the thing, too, like, that we were going to touch base on, and our severe ADHD kind of derailed a little bit, was him and I, in the past 10 years, have lost people that are not separate entities. I've lost separate entities, like my friend Kevin and so on and so forth. I've lost a lot of them, but we've lost, because we've been around each other since 14 until now, and he's lived with me and my family. And I cleaned houses with his mom. She read my cards to me and gave me my dream interpretations and screamed at us when we spent the night at her house during hurricanes and things.
Because we were so loud and wouldn't shut the fuck up.
I even wrote a book with her, the Trina series.
Yeah.
And him and my adopted mom and my father, my biological mom, and my stepdad, he has an awesome relationship with all of them. And my father and his mother and my adopted mom, two of my sisters, one who Bart wasn't just close to, but also shares the same birthday with.
Yeah, it was interesting.
Our dog, Zeus.
Yeah.
Our spiritual dad, and Tom, and our spiritual mom, Dawn.
Yeah.
Our mutual friend, Julie. I mean,
yeah.
It's been... And these... people, had they been alive when we'd come up with this tribe concept, which is really new, they would have been in the tribe.
Most definitely would have been part of it.
Dawn was already, because she has just passed away, she was already part of it.
Yeah. Yep, she was. And so the idea isn't to necessarily replace these people. It's to have moments where we speak on these people and talk about who they were and what they represent. And in doing so, hope we get...
Alive and dead.
Yeah, alive and dead. And hope that we get the message across that these are the kind of people that have inspired us. And we want these kind of people in our lives and in each other's lives, to bring those people together for themselves. Not even if we're not personally involved, these are the type of people that need to get together at this point in time. It needs to happen. People that can have intelligent conversations without judgment. Not to beat a dead horse like we've already talked about this, but that's the goal.
I feel like, this is just something that has accidentally been something that we stumbled on regarding our group, is that we use deeper things as, to adhere together, to have a common ground, something that, transcends the factions that we're supposed to actually, subscribe to. That we're expected to, as a society, to subscribe to. If you decide not to subscribe to factions, and instead kind of look into a human being, and see what they're like, feel their energy, listen to their words, learn their story, and realize that, okay, Tyshawn, you like rap, and Jesse, he loves metal, and Bart and I are pretty all over the damn spectrum, like we are spiritually in that regard. And
right. But to give a nod and recognize that. To say, I appreciate where you come from. You're no better than me. You're no worse than me. We are really the same, and the goal should be the same.
We're cheeseballs when it comes to that, like in the artistic field too. That's something that's almost a prerequisite, having empathy and accountability and having some type of art, some form of craft that allows you to create who you actually are and not just become what you're told you should be. Art really does transcend that. And it also works to give us some higher ground to connect on than what we're given in, dare I repeat myself, preconditioned society. Yeah. Our friends and I, we do that together. There's times, in that scenario, where it's true, like, we love Tyshawn. He's going to be one of the people that we hope to have very recently on here.
Yes.
He's an amazing lyricist. He does computer graphics. He is an awesome father, and he's very old school. He loves his boxing, and he loves all of that. And he's got some really tough, kind-hearted boys he's raising that are actually becoming men, in fact.
Yeah. Yep, time doesn't slow down for anybody.
The first time Tyshawn and Bart met each other it went straight to dark comedy.
Yes.
And it was love at first pretend argument.
It's true. And we have a lot that would generally separate the two of us. There's a lot of, at first glance, things that, normal people would be like, oh, well, they shouldn't get along. They shouldn't be in the same group, in the same clique.
Especially Tyshawn and Bart. Because
right.
Tyshawn is super tall and black, and Bart is super short. And
yeah, he's like this definition of what a macho man is, right? At first glance, you see him, you talk to him. And then me, I'm this small, unassuming, little homosexual man. So, you wouldn't think that we'd get along as well as we do, but I absolutely love him. And he loves me, and that's okay. It's okay to be different and love each other. Kumbaya.
Yeah, well, that's, and...
We make a lot of funny jokes.
Oh, yeah.
We have a lot of good times. We can actually probably write really good lyrics together.
We make fun of stereotypes with dark humor so bad that you would honestly think we were like these these racist fools. But in all truth, we're making fun of and impersonating racist fools.
Yeah.
I mean, because, when I'm sitting... when we're sitting with our mutual best friends, Tyshawn, Lon, it's like, okay, the Asian jokes, the black jokes, the gay jokes, and they're just going to happen. Yeah. Because that's what they expect us to hate each other for, so we might as well make fun of them.
That's exactly right. If I take away the power of something, then it means nothing. Like, you can call me a faggot all day long, all
I
you
do
want.
call him a faggot.
But it doesn't bother me. That word has lost all power to me because that's how I want it to be. And so that's what it is. If other people get offended, I can respect that. But my take is I refuse to be offended by a word. I am who I am. And that is one small facet of many, many facets of what makes me who I am. And Tyshawn can agree, and he thinks the same, and Wendy agrees and thinks the same, and this is why we're allowed to say these vulgar things to each other, because it's meant as to make light of a serious situation, because to us, we're above that.
It's so petty.
We're above that. It's quaint.
Right. It's like the idea is so petty that making fun of it really takes the sting out of it for us.
Yes.
The fact that this pettiness is real. It almost seems surreal at times that...
Because we're so beyond it at this point.
Like...
That to see people use those words in a derogatory way as, to be hurtful, it's like, oh, that still happens.
Why? Like,
right.
I mean, why the hell does it happen? It's like... We get called a lot of things for having these opinions. Snowflakes and do-gooders.
Oh my God.
They actually have bad names for people.
People need to categorize. They have to categorize. Well, otherwise, they can't make sense of it.
It's because they're stuck in a rut, and it's easier to be like, I'm going to scream at you for being able to get out of this rut, and I'm going to call you a whole bunch of things.
Right.
Because I feel inferior that I am not at that point. And it's like, dude, I feel inferior too, but I'm just okay with the fact I feel inferior.
Jealousy is ugly. To covet is ugly. It's like, well, so that's also another super important prerequisite, I'd like to say.
Zero fucking jealousy.
Yeah, no jealousy, none of that. Don't be offended by those words. It doesn't make sense to be above it. Be better than that. Because otherwise you are part of that group. Even if you're on the opposite side of it, you're still falling to that level.
It's not... And Martin Luther King said it during the last 8 minutes of his speech. Well, I mean, he didn't say it during the full last aspect of the 8 minutes of his speech, but to base it on the content of your character as opposed to the color of your skin. But it definitely is so much more than the color of your skin. It's, what religion you have, like, every aspect of who you are, just base it on the content of that character. And to not do that puts you in a group. Ironically, it's a paradox, it's an oxymoron, because we're like, hey, no factions. This shouldn't happen at all, but that is a faction based at least on some substance, meaning the content of your character, as opposed to superficial things that... hinder your ability to connect in the first place to know whether or not they're good or bad.
Yeah. And it's not, nobody wants to categorize, but we have to exclude in this specific group. It doesn't mean that I exclude anybody as a human being.
And yeah, we're not even saying that,
no one's better than anybody.
Nobody's better than anyone.
But there is criteria to fit into this specific group of people.
And it's... You might not, and even we have not at certain points in his life, like he pointed out when he was like 7 years old, the difference between like where he is now and then.
Right. And the path that took, and it took years to be able to get past that innate desire to lie and to, I don't know if it was exaggerate or, to feel like I need to be seen as something more than what I was, like I wasn't good enough.
Right. Once he realized how awesome he was, which is probably because I told him 1,000 fucking times a day for like 20
I still don't
minutes.
think I'm amazing. I mean, I don't think I'm that great. But I think I'm good enough to, I'm self-aware enough to know my good qualities as well.
He's like so good. He's my favorite person, like, alive.
Oh, the things you say.
Everybody knows it too, though. I wear it like a badge.
I do too, though.
It pisses some people off.
It does.
It inspires some of our friends, but then some of them are like, you guys are assholes. And we love them still, though.
And we do get some dirty looks along the way, because there is like an aura of we don't give a fuck when we're around each other and the things that we do and say and just have fun most of the time. And we do, despite how serious everything we've said to this point has been, there's a lot of humor that comes into it. You have to be able to laugh at serious things. You have to, in order to not have them beat you down or weigh on you or really physically start to affect you. To be able to laugh at something, I think, is the best medicine whatsoever. Like, I laughed at my mom's funeral. And we laughed at my mom's funeral. And that's not to say that it was the most appropriate time to laugh. It certainly wasn't. But it helped me. It helped me in ways crying would not. And I cried. Trust me, it wasn't like that. But it definitely got me through it a lot quicker. It made it more real and less real all at the same time. It made it so I could take a step back and look at it objectively and not just dwell in it and be stuck in the misery that is losing your mother. So that ability that we've learned being together to laugh at things that are serious has helped immensely. And if most of the world could do that, if even half the world, a quarter of the world could do that, this place would be so much easier to live in and so much better.
Something that him and I came up with while we were shopping. Neither of us like to shop. We just don't like stores. And we don't mind shopping online so much, but actually being in stores and waiting in line like cattle and dancing in those like neon lights, it just, with the anxiety that comes off those flickering things.
Seriously.
We're not big fans, which is why we definitely are the two, I'd say Christina, Bart, and I have come up with a comedy system to handle grocery stores and
just laugh the whole time.
Yeah, Trinity. Oh my God, Christina and I have been thrown out of so many stores together. That puppet show at Walmart.
Yes.
You know, and Bart and I have been pegged for a couple very often, which is so inaccurate.
It's not accurate at all. But it's funny because I get the dirty looks because she's this tall, beautiful woman, and I'm this short little guy, this, like I said, unimposing guy. And they're guys that'll walk by, even guys that have no shot whatsoever, not a chance, still look at me like I'm a dick, like I'm an asshole. How could he ever? And it's kind of funny.
He punks them.
I do. I punk them.
Which
I'm
makes
like, what?
Which makes it look very conspicuous when it's totally not.
But it's fine to have fun with people.
Yeah.
But if you saw the dynamic, you'd get it.
Well, yeah. I mean, we have no physical chemistry at all.
No, not at all. And people look at me like I'm crazy. Even as a gay man, people look at me like I'm crazy. But I don't.
He is crazy. That's why they look
maybe
at him
that's
that
maybe
way.
that's what it is. Maybe that's what it is. But no, to me, you know, it's too much like family. It's definitely like family. This kindred soul thing. I've known her in a past life. I know I have.
Many.
If not one, many, yes.
Like, you know, honestly, we can't even get into that part of it because you're going to have to get to know us a little bit better, yes. I feel like, before we start deterring you with some of the more spiritual aspects of our friendship.
Yes.
Except for to say, when we say we're not into incest, we're like, you know, we're not like pharaohs or anything like that. I mean, like, even if we were in a past life.
Nope.
You know, it might have been a mother-son situation during the time where they were committing incest, because I'm damn sure we ain't never touched except hugged before.
It is weird.
I don't even kiss him on his cheek, man.
It is weird. It's like the sides of a magnet when you try to push them together and they just shove each other apart. That's exactly what it's like. It's actually really interesting.
You should see us putting furniture together.
Right. Don't touch my hand. Don't fucking touch me.
It's like having such a spiritual connection that our bodies reject each other.
Yes. It can only go so deep. You can't possibly go any deeper. Pun included.
Okay, intended.
In that, not intended, just included. Because I really didn't mean it at first.
You didn't?
No.
Okay, all right.
But yes.
It went in.
It went in. It was perfect.
Okay, but that pun wasn't intended.
So, I think the main point of this was, okay, we want to let our intentions be known, get some of our perspectives and point of views out there. It's definitely going to be more subject related. We're going to try to hold on to certain things and talk about those things specifically.
We have such great topics and such amazing people.
But we needed this tangent. We needed to be able to kind of just go off and say, okay, I believe this about this. We believe this about this. These are the people we're trying to attract. We had to pay homage to Dawn. That was an absolute necessity because her death being so recent and her role being so important. But later on, obviously, the subject of mothers will come up. And we're going to be interviewing other people from our tribe and getting to know what they do and what we do. And
mind you, we know all these things,
yes.
but you are going to learn about them.
Yes.
And if you get along with the energy, or if you receive the energy that him and I are projecting in a positive way,
yep. And if you decide you want to be part of the group,
yes, that too.
There is a vetting process, but if you decide,
right, if you do, that's out there. Actually, I think I want to spend the rest of my life, my night, I should say, laughing. I just want to spend the rest of the night laughing, and I think we've spoken enough at this point.
Yep.
So I guess we'll just, drop these microphones.
Drop the mics, literally.
And just say goodnight so him and I could spend a couple hours laughing and shit.
Thank you for being a part of this.
Yeah, thanks for listening, guys. Providing you are listening.
Provided you did.
Dude, we have spoken for quite a long time, so they probably didn't make it this far.
Probably
but
not.
if you did, you're probably one of us.
Right. Yes.
If you made it this far.
Definitely.
Unless, of course, you're sitting in a group with, your redneck friends, and I'm just kidding.
Laughing at us.
Yes, exactly.
Listen to these snowflakes.